All right, it's 6 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. It's August 2nd, 2021. Welcome to the Newfane Selectboard. The first thing we'll do is call to order, and I would like to say thank you for all attending the meeting. Your participation is valuable to our community. Members of the public will be afforded reasonable opportunity to express opinions about matters considered by the body, so long as order is maintained according to the rule of procedures made available. Please refer to the Newfane Select Board Rules of Procedure approved each year by the board for the conduct procedures of your public participating in all meetings. Should you have any questions or concerns, please let us know. After that, do we have any additions or amendments to the agenda? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to introduce everybody. We have Mike Fitzpatrick, sorry, Kelly
What did I
Boozer,
forget?
Katie Johnson Eplin, Ann Golob, myself, Angela Sanborn, Juanetta Powling, Doris Knechtel, Ken Estee, member of the public, Tom Abbott. We have Austin Rice from BCTV. We have Jay Wilson, road foreman, Melissa Brown, treasurer, and Mike Fontaine, who is part of the road crew. And other members of the public joining in. Thank you for being here. I said hello, I'm sorry. All right, so are there any additions or amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll go to the approval of the July 19th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve them.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I do.
Good. And now moving on to the road foreman and road commissioners report. Good evening, Jay. You guys have been working all night, every night?
Yeah, it's been a long few days here. So the storm on Thursday night did a fair amount of damage around town. It affected approximately 28 roads. We worked throughout the weekend, so every house is accessible by car. As of now, only one bridge needs some riprap work on one abutment. We'll continue to look at all the bridges for any other problems. We've had 2 meetings with V-Trans to assess the damage, and a dollar figure is not yet available. We have several projects that need to be put out to bid. I was wondering, can we do a quick turnaround, or do we absolutely have to advertise them in the paper?
I believe we have to advertise them, correct?
I would say you would have to advertise them.
Because it's like Grout Road that would be nice to get reopened, and I just don't want to lose too much time. I know it takes a while to get it in the paper. So I didn't know whether on emergency stuff like this, whether you can.
Can we approve like a special supplement to get it moving, or are we not allowed to do that?
I'm not sure.
I don't see why we couldn't turn it around pretty quick. I mean,
Just to put
it's
it
gotta
on.
be done because the road's not passable.
Right.
So just to approve it as an emergency basis?
I would say yes.
I mean, it's like that one there, that's the only one, isn't it, Jay?
That one, and we should probably try to get that one on the pavement in Williamsville where it's halfway across that lane there, haul it underneath it. That would be another important one. The others, there's not as much emergency on. It's just those 2 I think would be nice to get up.
Jay, do you have a list of the roads that have been or is in need of repair? Okay.
Well, it was 28 roads had damage, so it's 80% of our roads, not 85% of our roads. So it's most of them.
Most of them.
Some of them go from just a small section that's very quick to repair to others have, a dozen different little spots along them.
Do you have it in a priority?
What's that?
Do you have them listed as in priority, like number
Yeah,
one?
we're trying to do the roads that are most traveled first, and then some of the smaller roads. We got it. First thing we did was to get everybody was accessible. Then Sunday, with the chance for another flood, we went around, spent the day cleaning culverts, make sure everything, in case we did have a lot more water. And then today we started doing some of the roads that have a lot of traffic on them, trying to get them a little better. And that's kind of the plan, is to keep going till we get all the way down to some of the small roads.
So to do this emergency bid, would you draw something up and send it out to the companies that we've used before?
Well, that's what I was thinking, if we could email it to 5 or 6, and then maybe Thursday or something, even do a Zoom meeting or whatever to open them or something like that.
Well, you'll have a showing, right?
What was that?
You're gonna have a showing on it then, so you just pick a day to have a showing this week, and then
Yep, we could do that.
that way everybody knows what they're looking at.
Great.
I'm available to be here on Thursday to do an opening of bids.
I can do that too.
Or Friday or whatever works. We should give them a few days to look at it, and
So you would send it out tomorrow in hopes that
Yeah.
people could look at it by Wednesday, Thursday morning? And
Yeah.
I mean, we should probably narrow this down so that we know.
Yeah. How many other towns are competing for the same people
Oh,
for
yeah.
their time as well?
And today's August 2nd. I could be even available Friday if we needed to give them a couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you might as well put everything else that's in the paper, right?
Right?
yeah, we can do that.
That way that can be on the works, so our next meeting we'd have, or maybe how many days we could have that posted for.
By then we'd be able to know if there's any other bridge work due.
Right. So you said several projects to put out to bid emergency. Which ones?
Williams.
The two that I think are the most important is
Williamsville.
one right in the center of Williamsville and the Brown Road.
So let's get those two done and then we can put the others out.
What did you say, Brown Road?
Brown Road
Grout.
or Ground?
Grout.
So,
Oh, okay.
Grout.
So, yeah, if you, what say the
Oh, yeah,
board?
that's
Is there a motion to have them go ahead and
I'll make a
do?
motion, we do that.
I'll
And
second it.
meanwhile, put all the rest out to bid in the paper.
Okay.
Does Jay need administrative help in getting that stuff typed up? Jay?
Do you need help? You can call Juanetta. Will you be available in the morning?
Yep.
Can get him, work with
Yep,
Juanetta.
okay.
And then,
Go ahead.
no, we have a motion, we have a second. Further discussion on this one topic.
Just that one item would be
Emergency.
available to help facilitate getting the bids written up.
Sure.
All those in favor say aye.
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 And then we will meet Friday, what time? 5:30? What's it, everybody good?
Yeah, 5:30. What day are we? Is it Friday?
Which are we doing, Thursday or Friday?
What do you say, Jay? Thursday or Friday?
It's up to you.
I'm available both days.
Let's say Thursday.
You want to do Thursday?
Yeah.
What time?
5:30, 5 o'clock?
What works? I'm free.
You want sealed bids, or you just want them emailed in, or how you want them?
Usually what Juanetta does, if they email them in, she seals them when they come in.
Perfect.
Okay.
So they can email
Yep.
it.
Thursday, 5:30.
Especially with a short turnaround, it's best if they can email it.
All right.
We'll do Thursday at 5:30 and we'll have a Zoom link if people can't make it
5:30
30.
on Thursday,
p.m.
August 5th.
Okay. I'd like to thank the town of Dover. They were a huge help on Friday. They called early Friday morning and see if they could come help us. And they sent, I believe it was 5 guys, there might have been 6
Wow.
trucks, and they were a huge help. And also to the state police dispatchers, Thursday night, Friday morning, they called 6 or 8 times to kind of keep us posted on what they knew about for other flooding. So they were big help also. Depot Road culvert, nothing new. Salt shed, nothing new. Item number 4 was from last meeting, so ignore that. And I was a little disappointed to read the article in the Commons regarding the work that's being done in Newfane Village to help with speed. Seems like things have progressed fairly well. V-Trans was quick to get the signage in place. We have the permit to install the radar signs, and we have purchased 1 radar sign. Friday, we were awarded the grant for the pedestrian scoping study for sidewalks and crosswalks in Newfane Village. And I would say that's pretty good progress considering how things normally progress. They go fairly slowly, but it seems like that's gone fairly well over there.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I was kind of shocked to see the article myself. I didn't know there was a traffic calming but that's out of the village of Newfane.
Yeah, yes.
So I was kind of shocked to see the signs, and plus now we have the sheriff's contract, so
Right.
I'm not sure how that's working out, but
It will be addressed at the village meeting on August 11th.
So the Arch Bridge bids were due Friday. And as of right now, there's only 2 bidders listed that put in bids, one for 3.4 million and one for 4.9 million.
Wow.
Which the 3.4 is in the budget figure that they originally had. So that sounds better. But I don't know if they just haven't put all the bids, posted them all yet, or if those are the only 2 bidders yet. But they have it on their website so we can kind of track it.
But didn't you say last week that there were 7 bids already in?
There was 7 people took the plans, but so far only 2 have actually put in prices.
Gotcha.
What percent of that are we responsible for, the town?
5%.
5%, okay.
5%, and we have to do the detour signage, which will consist of, the signs at Grimes Hill and Route 30 and then down by Depot. And there's an actual design that has to happen for that. So more than likely we'll have the guardrail people put the signage up for us and make sure it's all compliant with all the UTCD standards and so forth.
so Jay, if we were to go with the lower bid, if they were to do the work, they would have to be tested or certified at certain increments on the project through VTrans. Would they be?
VTrans handles everything with this one.
Okay.
So we're not involved with it at all other than,
Getting the bid.
yeah, they'll handle the going through the bids and awarding it, and the oversight will all be them until the bridge is done, and then it's turned over to the town.
Okay. Good.
And I guess that's everything. So as of right now, it's looking like it'll be a FEMA event, so that takes a lot of time. But we don't know when that's going to happen. So as of now, we're still just working with VTrans, and then when they decide one way or the other, then it'll get transferred over to the FEMA people.
Great. Thank you so much for all your hard work, and thank the guys on the crew too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Should we write a thank you to the Dover Road
Yes,
crew
we
and
should
to
send
the state PD dispatch?
Yes. Would you be willing to do that in your free time? Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the road foreman and road commissioners report?
I make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any
One
opposed?
question, I see there's a note here about Rebecca Mayer
Oh, yeah.
access permit. Is there anything you
yeah.
want to talk about that, Jay, on the minutes?
Well, we've approved the report, so we can just go right to that if we'd like.
Oh, okay.
Is it the next thing down?
So that's was like a forestry access, and they've changed it to more of a driveway. The only thing I saw they needed to do is maybe ditch the upper side of the feet or so the water can't run down into Mayor Road. Other than that, it looked fine. They had already done the work, but that was the only thing I saw was putting a ditch just above the access and entire ditch.
And it's just for that one singular property, not to be accessed by others?
Yeah, it goes right up behind the house.
Okay. And you see no reason why we should or should not approve?
No, it looked fine. As long as they do that, we'll have to add that on the permit that they have to do that ditch above it.
Okay.
So when you get a heavy rain event, it doesn't end up down the road.
Right.
Right.
Where is this?
Costs money. What are we doing
I
with
still can't
this?
quite figure. It's the permit.
Are we signing it or something?
No,
Or we're just
it
looking
gives
at
you
it?
the site.
Is there a motion to sign the permit?
I'll make a motion to sign it.
I second.
I can't think of where that road is,
I think-
so it's not any help
I
to
know,
me.
I was looking at this and I couldn't figure it out, but,
Go through the covered bridge and turn left.
it's that
It's
steep,
Oh, it's the steep,
yeah.
steep
drive, that's the one I
Gotcha.
thought it was, okay.
So we're on further discussion.
Do you see this?
No, he's also on.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Access permitted. And will you add that to it when you get a chance? Or talk to them about what you said needed to be added?
Sure, we could add it to it and send a copy to them or whatever, yeah.
All right, great, thank you.
Back of the first page.
Is there a place for town notes or whatever? Can you just
I'll do
repeat that
after.
remark about the ditching? What, how far back did you want it?
Probably 10 or 12 feet in on their access, just to direct the water to our ditch out on the road.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And next we have the administrative assistance report. Hi, Juanetta.
Hi. I've put together information, including emails from 2019. The photographs that were taken then showing Baker Brook behind the home of Nancy Reese. These emails from Mike LaPointe, a civil engineer from the United States Department of Agriculture and the Natural Resources Conservation Service. On July 27th, in an email, he suggested having an outside consultant do an analysis. This may have a better chance of being accepted by Mrs. Reese than our analysis, unquote. So all of the documentation that I've researched shows, at least to this point, that the town of Newfane is still responsible for operational and maintenance for the 10-year since July 29th of 2011.
Mhm.
No, August
August.
29th of 2011, which is when the storm happened. So there's quite a bit of information there, and the pictures most recently on the top show the recent flooding
As of like
as of
this recent,
a week ago,
Oh, before Thursday or after Thursday?
before Thursday.
Oh,
we had the
before.
2 weeks rain.
The conversation I had with Mrs. Reese this morning was there was 3.5 feet of water in her basement, which could affect her electrical panel
yeah,
as well as her furnace.
yeah, this looks like it's totally failed.
Underwater.
There's pictures from 2019 when we did a site visit that shows the rocks then falling into the brook.
In 2019,
2019.
we're talking about 2021 now,
Yes,
so,
When was the work done there?
Right after
right after Irene.
so are this
2011.
picture here where the big blocks are
That
starting
was
to
the site
fail?
that was the site visit that we did in 2019.
Okay,
And then you'll see the top pictures where the flooding is most prevalent, showing those blocks are now underwater.
right, the top.
And they're actually sliding into the brook.
This has been, the failure of the banks has been going on ever since the work wasn't done correctly after the.
Can you, I'm sorry, can you stand up and say your name?
I'm Nancy Reese.
Okay,
Hello.
welcome to our meeting, thank you for being here.
What's the big, so where this, all the rocks are and there's no water, that must be when it's dry or something?
Correct.
Okay,
But you can see where the rocks had fallen into the stream.
yeah, I don't know where the rock is, but I guess
There.
these rocks?
Jay, do you have anything you can add on this? Since I see you have a cameo in one of the photos.
We went over, was that 2019? We were there
Mhm.
to meet with the state. Nothing, probably nothing of value at this point that I've got, but so I knew they were still studying it to decide what they could do or with, and I don't know that they've ever come up with anything yet.
I know, I see this email in here where they were looking to speak with some folks about hydraulics. Do we know if that was ever done?
I have no idea. I haven't
Well,
heard.
they did have site visits on this, and they had a plan. Is this the plan that the guy drew up from the state that time? That's in here?
The hand-drawn site, plan was done August 1st of 2019.
Because
And that was following our July 22nd visit.
so when was the work done behind the house? It wasn't done during Irene, I don't think.
It was done after Irene.
Yeah, not that same year though. I think the site work was after that, wasn't it, Nancy? But I remember going to the meeting and looking at it,
Yeah.
and there was a state guy that had the drawings and they had a plan on how they wanted it done, and
Well, what happened was that they had, the town put out a bid to have a pool of contractors to do all the
Right.
work. And our house was one of the ones that was on the endangered list. And then, so they had the pool of contractors, and then I had no idea who the engineers were who drew the plan. I mean, I wasn't involved in any of it, so I don't really know.
Mhm.
But the engineers never did come out to the site and look. They just drew plans from measurements, I guess. So anyway, some engineers drew plans, and then the town brought the contractors out to bid on the site from the plans. Nobody would bid on it because they said that those plans could not be done in my situation. Then the plans went back to the engineers again to be redrawn, and this took months. By then, we were into November, and the same thing happened again. Nobody would bid on them. They said that the plans, and there again, the engineers did not come out and look at the site. They just drew the plans from what measurements, I don't even know. And so again, nobody would bid.
well, what they did, how they do it like a hydraulic study of the river coming down through there. And they don't want you to choke it up too much, because then it crowds it even more. And so what they did, they measured the width of the river and the depth of the river and all that. And I remember how they had it, I can't remember exactly how they had it all laid out, but
Well, what happened after the
I know it was tight back there
second
behind the
set of
house.
plans, and nobody would bid on those, and by that time, most of the contractors were all out doing other work. Most of the material was gone, there were only 2 contractors left. There was only one contractor that was within the bid amount, I guess. They are the ones that got the job. They did not start working on my job until, I think it was January? No, it was just December 28th. They finished January 8th so the storm was in 2011. So like I said, in December, that's when they started working on it. The contractors who were doing the work, in my frame of mind, were not qualified to do the work. And, the job wasn't done. Normally what would have happened, a contractor would have bid on the plans. He would have gotten a job, contractor would have gotten a job. He would have started the job, and it would have been checked, like you had said about this road, in increments to make sure it was being done correctly. I completely fell through the cracks. None of that happened. None. So these people ended up getting the job, and they didn't know what they were doing. Nobody ever checked on them, and the banks have been failing ever since then. And what happened after the second, the contractors said they wouldn't bid on the second drawing of plans, everybody threw their hands up in the air and didn't know what to do. And I remembered this one man, his name was Barry Cahoon, who was coming around assessing all the endangered sites right after Hurricane Irene, and he spent a long time at our property. And so I called him up crying, and I said, Barry, I said, you know that you can't leave me here for the spring thaw with no protection. And he said, no, we can't. And so Barry came out and he just drew a hand, he came out and spent a couple of hours sitting, he looked again and reassessed and sat in his truck and just drew a plan. And that's what they went by. And the banks, a whole 30-foot portion of the bank, which was more than 100 feet, but a whole 30-foot portion of the bank just above the house, the whole bank slid in 6 feet. So it narrowed the river just above the house, which raises the water level and the force of the river just before it comes past the house. So I've been dealing with this ever since Hurricane.
Yeah, one of the problems there
banks
was,
have been failing and failing.
one of the problems there is the riverbed's all ledge.
It's ledge, yeah.
Yeah, so there's,
And there's a drop in elevate, which is what Barry said. That's why the engineer should have come, he said they should have come out here and looked at this site before they drew the plans. They had no idea what they were dealing with.
What about putting, drilling down into the ledge and then putting rebarb and then putting cement
well,
walls and then embanking it?
it's pretty narrow right behind the house too, the brook. And then, like I said, it was all ledge. That was one of the problems, because you couldn't dig it in.
Yeah, but you could blast into it and put
I could have
lines into
swore,
it.
I thought we looked at that after that, long after that, but maybe it was that soon.
It doesn't appear so.
Yeah. But anyways,
And so now, at this point, after this last rain, I had the water in the cellar, so I'm dealing with humidity problems and that mess. And like I said, the furnace was in jeopardy, the electric panel was in jeopardy, and the river and the banks are even more severely. I will not last through the spring thaw after this winter. Something, has to be done. I mean, Juaneta's been trying to, she's been emailing and keeping in touch with Mike LaPointe for, I don't know, how long, 6 weeks, whatever, or whatever, and just,
before June.
And the time is going by, weeks go by, months go by, and nothing happens.
well, before any of us do anything, anybody in there, we're gonna have to get a permit from the state to even work in a river, which that's Scott. And,
Well, that has to do with Mike LaPointe and Scott Jensen and
right.
those people,
Well, if their plan failed, I would think that the state's still responsible for making that happen.
That the town and the state are responsible.
I mean, the state's not responsible for the work that they,
According to the documents and Mike LaPointe's email, the town of Newfane assumes operational and maintenance for a 10-year period following the storm.
so we signed off of it, on the work that was completed, that
failed.
that failed?
Now,
Do we know that?
I don't see how the town would be responsible. I mean, I ain't saying she doesn't need help, but I don't see where, because we did a lot of them different jobs, and I don't really remember the town signing things to do away, not be responsible. I mean, the state's the ones that kind of drew up all the plans for us to look at bidding this stuff.
But
And
I
they-
think his point was once the town took over, after the work was done and accepted the funds for disbursement,
Mm-hmm.
I think at that point, the town assumed operation and maintenance for the
I
next
can't
10
imagine
years.
that's the way it goes, but
We have to
Look
look
at
I
at the,
understand your point where the engineers, that had to be from the state, the town had nothing to
No,
do with
right.
that, right?
right,
I mean, I don't know.
no, none of us drew it up.
I have no idea who even drew the plans, but I assume it's the state. And like I said, if it had gone the way it should, then wouldn't it have been the state that would have been checking in increments on the job to make sure it was being done correctly. So I mean, the town and the state are kind of intertwined.
Well, I know how, like when you start the job, the guy comes and he goes over the whole project with you.
Right.
Most of them jobs kind of go kind of quick, so I mean, they're not there throughout the whole project. And you put it all done, then they come back and inspect it and approve it, and then you get paid. It's, as I said, I mean, it was whoever did the job, the guy from the state had to have signed off it at one time
To be able
to be able to pay the guy that did it.
Right.
And like I said, I know it was all handled through the state. I know the town was the one to disperse the funds. But I don't see why that'd make us responsible for 10 years on it. And like I said, I'm not.
Unless they're figuring that the town put together the pool of contractors to do the work. You know, like I said, I don't, all I know is I completely fell through the cracks. And I need
Well, no, I know
I don't know.
I mean, the state's one has a list of contractors. I mean, town gives them recommendations to. I mean, I was there the day that, you know, this all went down. You know, when they looked at it, and you know, and I remember, you know, not trying to badmouth anybody, but I remember you that day. There was one contractor you didn't want on the property, and the state guy said, "Well, they're all qualified bidders and contractors," and he had just as much right to look at it because it was all going through the state and.
And that was Joe Wright, who had been.
Well, I wasn't gonna say no names, but.
Had been harassing me.
Right.
And I was scared to death of him and did not want him on.
But I remember, but I'm just saying, you know, I mean, because you said that in the contract, the state guy said, these guys, everybody looking here is qualified to do this work. And anybody that they invited to bid had a right to bid on it. But I know, yeah, he might have backed out.
15 different contractors.
Yeah, but
Right, there's quite a few there, right. But I'm just saying, I remember that day there, so, but I mean, it was the state guys that, it wasn't the town that put it together, it was all a state thing. I mean, the only thing the town did was handle the money, so everybody got paid, and then the town got reimbursed through the state and so on. But, you know, I never heard of it, that we were gonna be responsible for 10 years, the town, you know, for it, but I'm not saying you still don't need help. You know, maybe somebody's gonna have to talk to the state anyways before you go further, because without Scott Jensen and them giving you permission to even go do it, you know, nobody's gonna go in that river.
Right.
Because that's a $10,000 fine to get caught playing around in that water.
Jay, do you have any type of idea or recommendation of where we go from here, perhaps, on what we should do?
I mean, I think the state's got to make some sort of decision of what needs to happen before you can go any further. I mean, they have control over it.
So respond to Michael LaPointe and include Scott Jensen in on an email asking to do another site visit and figure out where we go from here.
I think that would be the best plan, is to get them to come down again.
Okay.
Well, the only thing I see here is of 7/22/2019 site
Now, what's
visit.
that, LaPointe, what's he, the highway or something like that?
No, he's with, the United States Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources Conservation Service. It's a USDA NRCS. He's the one that I've been emailing to.
But I mean, like Scott, he's in charge of the river thing,
Right.
so you'd have to get a hold of him.
Well, and LaPointe says, Mike LaPointe says that this project was done before he started working on the flood event. And do not know if Newfane required landowner to be responsible for both
Yeah, I don't know.
sponsor share of the project cost and the operation maintenance O&M of the EWP repair. I think we really need to kind of peel this, look at some of the documents and see what's going on a little bit further.
Who did what?
We have those still downstairs to look through.
They're out there in the hallway, but there's no files with 65 Baker Brook Road.
Well, we've got some stuff here right now. I mean, just dealing with this, I think we need to take it into maybe a special committee or something and look at this further.
Oh, like I said.
I would make a recommendation, do that.
I would get a hold of Scott Jensen first and then take it from there.
Is there a volunteer to take this on? We'll look into it further.
Do I have the most time out of all of us?
Maybe Mike,
I can,
and
but
having
I
his
would.
knowledge, he could sub-help you
I would love
when
that.
you have questions, since you're so knowledgeable
Well,
about the
yeah.
rivers and such.
I gotta call Scott anyways on a couple other projects, so.
Shall we
Yeah.
make a motion to have Katie lead this on
I will.
with the assistance of Mike?
Will
Sure.
you help me with that?
Alright.
Try to figure this out in a more timely fashion.
Thank you. Do we need to do a motion? Or just that we have
So-
Katie volunteering as a member of the select board to research and go further with this?
I think that's
And bring it back to the table.
sounds good.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And can I clarify that
Yes.
there are two pieces, that, if I'm understanding correctly, that we're looking at. One is understanding who has the financial responsibility at this point in time, and how do we resolve the issue and get the work done to repair the bank.
To correct it.
Correct.
Right, with the urgency on that end,
Yes.
which means trying to step through
Yeah,
some environmental
before the-
hoops before spring
Before
melt.
fall, get the work done, repaired.
Well, actually, I'm not sure, but like the, you can't go in the river after
October
It's
15th.
October.
October 13th?
15th.
15.
Oh, okay. So it's like you have between now and that time to have it done.
Yeah, which is a very short window.
So it's
Why
between
is
October 15th and when? Do you happen
Why
to
is
know?
that?
what the-
Salmon?
Well, like it
Why is
started, like in June, there's a certain date in June when you
Yeah,
can
because of
go
the
in.
trout.
The trout, the fish, or whatever.
From June until October 15th
I see.
is the window that you can work in the
If it's brook trout, you can go in June. If it's rainbows, you can't go in until July.
Right.
They say you gotta kill the fish. I suggested something to them, but they didn't think that was a good idea.
Do we even still have any fish
No,
in
I
our
actually
streams?
told-
They're empty.
I actually suggested that they have a contractor stock the brook. You know, 500 trout's cheap compared to killing, slowing up a whole job, And it doesn't do any hurt to work in the spring or as long as the water's down.
I've never seen a fish in any.
But you said the work was done 10 years ago in December. So they made an exception
And
in
Well,
then
that.
back then,
exception
the
then.
rules were all gone back then.
Those are-
Yeah, I mean, that was, like right after, everything was
All hands
crazy,
on
there were
deck.
no rule.
Yeah, you worked all winter and everything. and stuff, yeah.
Environmental.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Katie, for leading
We'll
that.
try to figure this out.
Wonderful. Is there anything
I
further?
would sincerely appreciate it.
Yeah, would
So
you
what
mind?
I'm trying to do is have some answers by the next meeting.
Yes. We will get you her contact information.
The spring and thaw after this winter.
Right.
Great, and we will put this back on the agenda for the next meeting with an update as to what's going on.
Okay.
And Juanetta, go for it.
We have received a refund of $1,379 from the recent workers' comp audit. And this is from our VLCT insurance policy. The work was done by Melissa, so hats off to Melissa for completing the audit.
Thank you, Melissa.
On Friday afternoon, Angela and I took photos of the flood damage. This will document FEMA reimbursements. Anyone wishing to share pictures that they have is welcome to send them to me at tnewfane@newfanevt.com.
Great. Could I just ask a clarifying question? Could someone just explain to me from past experience how it works with getting FEMA involved and sort of
For the flooding and stuff?
for this going forward? Yeah. So everything goes to the state submits it to FEMA. FEMA decides if they're going to accept it or not. And
Well, you
then
gotta hit
hopefully
certain
we
like
get,
a threshold too.
Thresholds.
right.
Yeah.
And then presumably we just keep all our paperwork in order and they reimburse us at 100%, do we know?
Mark Pickering, our V-Trans representative, has been going around with Jay, looking at all of the damage around Newfane and coming up with a number as to the total estimate damage. And I don't believe we have that yet.
No figures yet.
So is there, Jay, is there reimbursement or Do we split it or?
No.
I think last time it was, if I remember right, it was 80% we got.
80/20. I see. Great.
I won't swear to that, but I think that's what the reimbursement was. And they, it's pretty much automatic. Once the state's decided it's a FEMA thing, they hand over their stuff, and then a FEMA person comes into town. And last time it was all done by computer. They used to actually go out and look at the sites, and they don't do that anymore. When we did it in 2017, they just came to the office and filed everything right on the computer and left. But it's nice when it stays as a state level because the reimbursement's very easy. When it comes to FEMA, it's a longer term thing. It takes you longer to get the money and so forth.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the administrative assistance report?
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 And good evening, Melissa. We're here for your treasurer's report.
Hello,
Hi.
Hi, Melissa.
how are you?
Good. We're good. How are you?
Good, thanks. All right, so this past month has been extremely busy with the end of the fiscal year tasks that need to be calculated and entered into the system. I have been forwarding the end of the year reports to everyone as they are available. At this point, I only have to complete the property tax reconciliation and the deferred revenue for taxes and grants, but this can't be done until just before the auditors come. And the auditors will be here August 23rd and 24th. I have completed the extremely long list of items to gather and calculate for the auditors already. The next few weeks, I'll continue to go through every account and make sure it's balanced and correct before the auditors arrive. The end of the year budget looks great, and we stayed well within budget for expenses, slightly below budget actually. The revenues were higher than anticipated due to various grants and a few other line items going over, along with some reimbursements. Tax bills were successfully mailed out on time and payments have already been coming in. I still haven't heard from Attorney Bob Fisher in regards to when the tax sales will be, but all the information has been forwarded to him. There are only 4 properties in tax sale. All the other property owners that were in jeopardy of going into tax sale either paid in full or are on payment plans. So far, nobody has missed any payments. There are currently 8 people on payment plans. Most of them have already paid at least 1 to 2 years of back taxes on their properties. I still have not received any money for ARPA, and I'll notify you guys as soon as I do receive it.
Great. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
Awesome.
Just one other thing about ARPA funds, it was in the paper the other day that the Treasury has agreed that for the additional money that was supposed to go to the counties, that they will redistribute it to the towns. Exactly what that formula is going to be, we don't know yet, but I'm hoping we'll know soon. So that'll be the second piece to come.
Great. Cool. And you need us to sign something for the auditor?
Yeah, the internal control checklist. There was a couple things left that I didn't check off. I did mark where it was. It should be like a sticky note or something.
Yeah, she sent them out to us. I can't recall.
Yeah.
Do you need us to answer these now, or can we do it during payroll?
No, you can do it after.
And we can call you with questions?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll do that during payroll. Is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I make a motion to accept it.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your report and all of your hard work.
You're welcome.
Doris, good to have you.
Well, thank you.
It's wonderful to be here.
What brings you here this evening?
I have two things. One is errors and omissions certificate, which you have a copy of.
The original has a sticky on it.
So this-
Okay,
Errors and omissions is when there's something that's on the grand list that shouldn't be there, or something that got left off. In this case, Southern Vermont Cable, they had up on Neil Pelsu's property a shed and antennas and equipment, and all of that is gone, and they had a $11,000 value on that property, and it's only under education. It wasn't under the rest of the town grand list. Anyway, the storage shed is going to be added to Pelsu's cart. It's not there yet because we've got to go out and measure it. But we need to take off, for errors and omissions, you need to approve taking off the $11,000 from the grand list, because it shouldn't be there. There
Oh, okay.
shouldn't be a tax bill for that.
So what's happening to the shed? Is someone's purchasing it or something?
No, they're not purchasing.
it's already on their property.
It's
Oh,
on their land. All of this was on Neil Pelsu's property.
okay. Well, got it.
Or
Clarifies it, I
Arlene
guess.
Pelsu's property.
Okay.
So it's already on their property.
Yeah.
And Southern Vermont Cable gave it to them,
Okay.
but we need to go and measure it and
And
assess
there's
it.
no more Southern Vermont Cable. So.
There's no more Southern Vermont Cable, so
So is there a motion to approve?
I'd make a motion to approve.
I think you have the original for signing.
I do.
Good.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
And number 2, you have another
The
item?
other item is, what does it say on the thing? The HS 122 penalties. In the past, there's a state statute that allows towns to assess a penalty on late filed homestead declarations. In the past, the town of Newfane has not assessed that penalty. It's at 8% on the homestead education taxes. And what happened is when we went to print the tax bills, we didn't check that box to say no penalty.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there's been, we had like 4 of them that's so far has affected 4 taxpayers. And one of the property owners they're deceased. So it's like, and I think in all this assessment penalty goes to education. The town doesn't get any out of it at all. And it's assessed on the homestead tax for that particular piece of property. So the town doesn't get any funds from this whole thing. And my recommendation is that the town continue to not assess this penalty of 8%.
Do we have to notify those people that?
We'll have to, but you
Yeah.
can't do it until.
Right. So I make a motion that we continue that practice of not assessing on the specific mentioned.
People have different reasons for not getting something into the tax on time. But these deceased people, what are they?
Is there a second?
What's wrong with that?
I second it.
And second. Any further discussion?
Any questions?
Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
All those in favor say aye.
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 That's it for me.
Well, thank you so much, Doris, and thank you for all your hard work.
Oh, I'm having so much fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
No problem.
And it doesn't look like we have any scheduled members of the public, but we have unscheduled members of the public, perhaps. Who would like to speak first? Anyone?
Ladies first.
I'm just observing.
Well, welcome anyway. Hi,
Thank
Henriette. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Tom,
I'm Tom
good to have
Abbots.
you here as well.
Thank you. I'm Tom Abbots. Our family has property at Eddy Road and the South Wardsboro Road. We own both sides of the road as you pull in. It used to be our driveway, and then we granted a right of way over our property for the town to take care of the road. Since Irene, we've had the road level raised to the point that instead of driving up into our driveway, we're driving down into the driveway. Every rain event, especially the one we just had, causes all the gravel to come down, deposit in the yard, up against the buildings, to the point that instead of 2 steps into the barn or 2 steps into the main cabin, it's 6 or 8 inches. So it's raised. It's not even 8 inches. It's getting to the point where once the water flows, it's getting the siding and the sills wet. The same thing happened to my uncle's place halfway up the hill. They raised the road 4 feet. And his driveway used to be an in and out, and it was below his front stoop, which was 1 step. The water from raising the road 4 feet now drained directly into his cabin, rotting the place. He was in his 80s, 90s, and it just finally collapsed, the building. I spoke with Jay about this 2 or 3 years ago, and we're gonna work on it. I spoke with him Saturday morning when he was there with V-Tram. I should have started off with, I want to thank the road crew and Jay and the guys from Dover, Todd Brown, for coming out at 3, 4 o'clock, hauling material and working into the evening and all weekend. I appreciate it very much. The only thing I don't appreciate is that I have a machine, and at 1 o'clock and 10 o'clock Thursday night, when I heard the rush, and I had gone out at 9:30 and there was no damage. When I went back out at 10, there was 2 feet of water coming down the road, and it was washing across my yard. It was going out into South Wardsboro. My machine was at the top of the mountain, almost a mile up, where I'm helping a neighbor put in some stuff on his new property. I went up and got my machine, brought it down, and barely made it down. All the culverts from the main, there's a culvert about halfway up that the stream that comes down alongside the road from the top. It transitions from one side of the road to the other. It's a 4 or 5 foot round culvert. That gets blocked up, and during Irene, we lost the road from there all the way down. All the gravel and riprap, 6, 8 inch stone, ended up in our yard.
Wow.
Same thing happened this time. At the entrance of Eddy Road in South Wardsboro, in about 12 feet by the width of the road, there was 2 feet of stone that just deposited there. Another 20 feet back, 25 feet back, which is in the middle, as you come around the corner from South Wardsboro, you basically turn right into our driveway front yard. Another deposit of stone collected there, and once the water level got to the point where it found the easiest way, which was down into my property, it flowed right through. And as I walked across my yard, where I never see any flowing water, it was over my ankles. Farther up, each culvert got clogged at the input, and then the water ran right over the top of it to the point where there was 6 foot deep by 6 foot wide, the width of the road, dumping the basically a new stream going into the stream. all the way up. When I brought my machine down, I took the material, the stone that was piled up in the road, and I filled in those culvert, those trenches to stop the water. I dug out the culvert to get the water to run under the road instead of over it. When I spoke with Jay Friday evening, I had already graded off and raked out the section that my property on both sides was affected by, so that by the time the grader got there, traffic could come up and down the road, all the way to Dusty Thompson's house.
Yeah.
And the culverts, I cleaned out some of the culverts. I was doing it to help my neighbors, because I've got 2 nurses on the hill, and I knew one of them was going to work, Nancy Stockwell, at 11 o'clock. She goes out about 10. Holly Thompson, she goes in the morning. So I've got a daughter who's a nurse, first responders, I don't care, we gotta help them out.
Right.
They're helping us. But at 3 o'clock, when the grader came in Friday night, he started making passes up, and along the left side of the road going up to this big culvert was, over my eyes. I'm standing down inside it, 8-10 feet. Some of it is still 8 or 10 feet wide. And they started dumping in stone and whatnot. At some point, I had to leave for a meeting about 5 o'clock. Some point after that, they started laying in new material from the entrance of Eddy Road up along through my property, raising the roadbed then again. Now I understand you want to cover the riprap, not riprap, but it's 8-inch stone that they use as a roadbed. But raising the road and diverting water onto private property, which now it's causing damage. I spent all day Saturday and all day Sunday scraping the material off my front yard. I probably could have filled 2 or 3 dump trucks, town trucks, with what I pulled off my front yard. One, I don't believe we needed to put that extra foot of material over the top. Last night's rain washed over, but I had already dug and put like a giant speed bump along the edge of the road to keep the water from going off onto my yard. It kept most of the water out of my yard, but you could see, and I've got probably 2 dozen photographs I took before I did any work over there. So what I've asked Jay to do, and he suggested coming here, is lowering the roadbed back down almost a foot and a half. And we're gonna cut into that riprap that's underneath the fines. Then put a layer of the fine over the top of it. But laying new material on top of new material on top of new material and raising the roadbed. Now I'm gonna take a transit shot of my sill height, and I know where it was because last year I had these ceramic panels that are about 8 feet by 2 feet.
Mm-hmm.
I dug alongside of the house and I set them into the ground to keep that edge dry, or at least the dirt off of it. They're barely showing now. And across the front of the barn, I don't even need to put a ramp down and move my machine in and out of it, my motorcycle. It used to be 18 inches, 2 steps. So that's what I'd like the town to approve. I understand the water. They don't want the water to run down the road. I've been in construction for myself for over 50 years. I worked with my grandfather and my 2 grandfathers in construction since I was 10 years old. So even longer. But you can't divert water onto private property. If I'm a contractor and I'm building a house, I can't divert it onto your next door property. The town can't dump water. If I've got a field, no big deal. But when my buildings are right along the road, you have to take that into account because it's causing damage. And then I've already spoken to my attorney. I don't wanna go that route. But I'm not gonna lose what I've worked my life for.
Right.
Or have addition. I've got so many other projects. I just spent 4 days, that's an act of God, okay, this storm. But I just spent 4 days working on trying to get my lawn and my property back to where it was.
I make a motion that Jay and a couple others go up and look at that and take a look at it, because the lower you go, you're obviously gonna have to go back on the side banks a little bit too.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think
Why are you gonna have to go farther back?
'Cause
The road width is at a certain.
Well, you're making a channel, you know?
to make a channel.
I mean, no, if you just go straight down, you made a channel. You could have the road slope and have a ditch. I mean, if you're gonna have water come down through there, it's coming down and going into the town road now, you gotta get the water so it goes to, I don't know if there's a culvert there or not.
No, there's a culvert about, from the entrance of Eddy Road into South Wards Road, maybe 150 feet up, that's the lap. That's dumping into the brook, and it's on an angle. I don't think you can come down much farther and catch the brook.
I was just recommending, I
on the
think
right
that
hand side.
if Jay and Christopher, and I'd even go up with them if they want.
Well,
And
my
stuff and take a look at it and stuff and see.
My suggestion would be is to put in a decent sized culvert that parallels the affected edge of my property. Go right across South Wardsboro Road and dump it straight into Smith Brook. Now there's a culvert just up from Eddy Road that I just cleaned the culvert out, and I stood up the telephone pole post that marks where it is, because it had gotten knocked over by the snowplows. But that would keep the water from being dumped onto the South Wardsboro.
Yeah,
Right now, there's
they're gonna
a
have to
stream
look at
running
the
down the
culverts, they're
right-hand
not
side
big
of
enough,
South
upgrade
Wardsboro.
them.
So
What's
what,
that?
what
If
would
the
your
culverts
motion
aren't-
be? Sorry, we have the start of a motion. What would
I
that
would
be?
say, if Jay wants, Christopher and myself or whoever else wants to go, we'll go up and take a look at it.
We need to start at the top of the hill because that's it. It's a terrible location with that steep hill and all the water.
Yes.
Well, that brings me to my second point.
One second.
That has to be addressed also, is that box, that culvert up at the top of the hill is too small. You need a box culvert up there. And I talked to V-Tram the day that Jay was there, and they were saying that they were earmarking money to do that. And that's gonna keep the water from jumping that bridge and coming down, because that stream, it was 12 feet deep at the height of that storm, and it came up like that.
So back to Mike's motion?
Same thing.
Would that
Okay.
be so that you could design, engineer it a little bit?
Well,
Or-
we go up and take a look at it and see what it thinks. Like you said, probably the culverts above are all too small for one
Yeah.
thing.
There were 12-inch culverts that are transitioning the
Right.
road going up. There's 3 or 4 before you get to the big one.
Right.
And
There's a second to Mike's motion to go have a field trip to check out these culverts on South Wardsboro
I'll second
Road
it.
and Eddie.
Can I just, the third point is that
Further discussion right now. Go, Tom.
with the water, after Irene, a section of the retaining wall that keeps the stream away from my buildings runs from Eddy Road, right where that first culvert is coming up, all the way down past the back of my buildings. I lost 8 or 10 feet of that stacked stone wall. Now this has been there since the
150
early
years.
40s.
Yeah, but
My grandfather
wasn't it
built-
repaired during Irene?
It was repaired after Irene.
Yes, okay.
And this section behind the barn now has collapsed into the stream. And I took pictures today of it, but the water was moving too fast. I couldn't get into it to get up real close. But it's compromised the footings on the back of the barn, which will mean that the buildings start to drop. And I've got a lot of expensive equipment in that barn, and I can't afford to. And I could fix it myself, but I can't get into the stream. I can't afford a $10,000 fine for going in there and fixing it. what I have been doing over the years is just taking stone that was bouncing around in there and throwing it up against the bottom of that wall to sort of rip wrap it a little bit. But this storm took it all right out. That has to get fixed because the building, as this woman is gonna.
Yeah.
And it's not the spring thaw that I'm worried about. We're in hurricane season, and the storms between now and December,
Just gonna get worse.
the thaw will be gradual, hopefully.
So will you come, and Christopher and Jay come up with a time and let everyone know if they wanna show up?
Yeah.
When you're gonna do this? And all those in favor of Mike's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Hey, Mike, should we include Scott Jensen since that's a perennial stream if we're gonna have to do anything?
Might just well, that way you can see the culvert too,
Excellent.
on top.
So you'll let
You're
us
saying
know.
that stream runs year round? It doesn't. This year it is. It was dry for the last 3 years by the beginning of May, and we didn't get water into it again.
Same as the one behind my house, and now it's running
and
full.
The Fish and Game went up there last year with 80,000 fry in a tank and they salmon. And they were going to dump it into the river, and 2 weeks later it was bone dry.
Wow.
And there's a couple of waterfalls before the bridge is what we call a big culvert. And right now that has a sinkhole in it that's getting bigger every day. And that bridge wasn't barely wide enough for one car to pass.
Yeah, scary.
The road is one car all the way up and down. So
With no guardrails.
Well, we will be out there to check it out.
We have is on water.
Are there any other unscheduled members of the public that would like to speak?
We had a first and a second. I didn't hear it.
Yes, we had Mike and
First, and then Mike. I think.
Mike was first.
Mike was
Your
first.
shot.
I
Your
was
I
second.
made the motion, right?
Okay. Oh yeah.
Was there a vote called?
Yes, all in
Yes.
favor.
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, Jay.
You're very welcome. Thanks for being here. Henriette, do you have anything you'd like to talk about?
My sister talked to Christopher Williams this morning about our road, and you took pictures after it happened. And basically our damage, we never had any damage during Irene. There's never really been any damage around the cemetery or at our house my entire life, and I did go to grade school in this building. And
Excuse me, where do you live? I don't know.
up the hill behind the store,
Cemetery.
around the cemetery, up.
Cemetery Hill Road.
Yeah, that's what it's called now. So I feel a little guilty because we're not a big priority. However, all we wanted, this all happened before this storm, that there was rumor has it, only I saw some truckloads leave, 5 to 7 truckloads of dirt taken off our land. And now there's a huge hollow, like all filled with puddle water. It's a huge mess up there. It's terrible. And it's just, we've never had trouble with our road. You know, I mean, every once in a while I would say, will you guys clean out the ditches along the edges or the stone wall along the cemetery, because that's not our land and it's the cemetery land and it was gonna fall in the road and the plows were gonna hit it. And so basically all I'm saying is that we need to get to the bottom of what happened to our road before the storm. We don't have storm problems usually.
Yeah.
But we do now.
So you're saying someone went up there and dug
The
dirt?
town fixed the road, but they took 7 truckloads, 5 to 7, maybe 4, I don't know.
We cleaned out the runouts and the ditches down through because they had a water problem. And this July is the most water we've ever had. And it just couldn't take any more water up there. So we opened up and we went back up there a couple days later, seeded it. And then this storm came and of course the grass hadn't grown and it made a mess again.
The land before the storm, the whole muddy mess against the stone wall and the roots to the trees are cut off, and the local arborist, tree expert, said that tree's gonna fall right over. That's more than 16 feet off the middle of the road, up against the stone wall that was messed up. I mean, look, all I want is the dirt back. You know, if you build back up the banks, we had always let everything drain off into our fields and never complained, or the other part goes into the cemetery. You know, now the corner's a mess. DeWitt Road is a private road, but that's gonna be all flooded over. Already the mud started to go over that. That's Helen, and I know Morris came up today from Massachusetts to look at his camp. But it's, you know, now you can't really get, UPS man couldn't make it up today. So that's, I think we just, I need to go on the list, maybe to have Christopher come up and, I don't know what to discuss with my.
We can take a look at it. We'll, I know he patched a little bit, I don't know, Saturday or Sunday, I know they went out, but we'll go up and see what we can do.
Yeah.
Is it so it's up past the cemetery, closer to your
It's
house?
all, well, the corner, no, you go up the hill and the corner's a complete mess. It used to be banked up there, so the water would go through it and then in culvert under DeWitt Road and down to where it goes behind her house.
Okay.
Now, they took all that dirt away, so in the winter time, you go right off the road into DeWitt Road and over the hill and hit the railroad station. It's crazy.
I know. We like those dirt banks.
Yeah, and so then the other banks were taken off. I mean, you know,
So that's the new MRGP that the towns have to follow, is we have to get any berms that are on the side of the roads have to be taken away.
Any what?
Berms.
The berms, the banks that you're talking about, so the water can flow.
Oh, so you have to take them away now?
We have to take them away, and we have to put 4-foot ditches in and stone line them on the inside, which I don't know how we're gonna do that by the cemetery. But we have until 23 to get Great Hill done, at least up to the pullout there.
Right, but what I don't understand was why the bank was, why from the stone wall to the gutter. I don't understand why all that dirt was taken out of there, and now it's a big, huge gutter there, and there's ledge in there that my dad and Timmy Williams, the original town guy here, they made sure that that ledge was always covered. And that now the dirt has just been dug out. I mean, where'd that dirt all go? Can that come back?
That was all stuff that you wouldn't want on the road, so.
Well, it was topsoil. That was all topsoil. My sister had planted and she took the mower down there to mow it all the time. And she mows the back of the cemetery too.
And the entrances to your fields.
And the
where you have
entrances
people
to our
coming.
fields are messed up. We just paid someone to make the entrance to the one field so that you could pass through it, and now you can't pass through it.
Oh, like with a little bridge to get through the gully? Or
Yeah,
something?
like, you know, there's 2 openings in the stone wall on each
Yeah.
side. One side, you know, we don't care about that.
Yeah.
The other
We
side,
have to get in there. Well,
yeah, and
Well, not only that, for when you have events, because your sister
Yeah.
said you had an event coming up in 2
Yeah.
weeks.
yeah, we do.
I'll see if Christopher can come up with me and we'll go up and take a look. Are you gonna be around
Yeah,
this week?
yeah, most of the time, yeah.
Okay.
What's today?
All right.
Not tomorrow morning, but after that I'll be around.
Okay, we'll come up and meet with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe you could be there too.
Just let me know when.
Okay, thank you.
I'm more of a later in the day kind of person because I
Yeah.
have to work, but I
Okay,
would be more than happy to show up.
okay. You're much kinder than me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But
Good
you're
thing you
very
only come
kind.
once in a while. Good thing you only come once in a while.
Is there anything further on unscheduled members of the public? Anyone? All right, moving forward, we're going to old business and we have the American Rescue Plan Act update with the Planning Commission and Golob.
Ken, do you want to talk about the planning commission and give an update on that?
Yes, so we met on July 22nd, which was our regularly scheduled meeting. And the planning commission voted on July 22nd to not go forward with the in-person meetings, which is a disappointment to us. We were eager to have the in-person meetings at Brook Fire Station in Williamsville Hall. But the discussion of the Delta variant and the wish, you know, the whole point of the in-person gatherings was to do work, but also a celebratory note and, you know, we did call them planning parties, and we did have the intent to work in the midst of the party. And the point of a party is to get as many people as possible to come to your party, and that just didn't feel right. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel safe. So we decided not to do the in-person meetings, which threw us a little bit back then into, okay, now what do we do? And so I've called a special meeting for this Wednesday to keep the fires burning here, to keep us fresh and keep us moving, because our next regularly scheduled meeting is August 12th, and we can't wait that long. So we're working hard to keep this moving. So I think what we're going to do, this is speculation. I don't want to say too much until we've all met, although we did talk about this a little bit on the 22nd, is that we would have a series of Zoom meetings. So we'd have not just one Zoom meeting, but multiple Zoom meetings. And then some other ideas about some outside gatherings. And then maybe just some other methods of collecting information, whether it's the mailing or inputs that come in through the town office. That's the point of our Wednesday meeting, is to just go through all of the ideas that we can think of to get, the broadest possible methods, number of methods to get that input from the town and really, speak to the money that we are looking forward to getting.
Great.
So that's where we're at right now.
Well, that's sad to hear, but thank you for finding other avenues.
Oh yeah, no, we're determined. We're not going to give up at all. The Delta variant, however, it just seems spooky to us.
Yeah.
Madam Chair. So one of my thoughts was using the school grounds and the pavilion down at the school at Newbrook.
Yes, right, and that's.
I don't know if you thought about that.
Oh no, thank you for that, because we were thinking like, let's get a tent, but we don't have the budget for a tent.
Right.
But then, it's like looking around. Other people do have tents, or other businesses, or other, So if there's, in town, if there are places that are sort of enclosed, so we don't have to. I mean, I know it never rains around here, but,
right.
So, but on that off chance that it does rain, that we would have some form of protection, where we could set up.
You have stations.
Exactly, stations where people.
If you did it down at Newbrook, you have that big field.
Janice Litchfield Pavilion would be a fantastic place to go have something, but who would they contact to rent that out? Would it be Newbrook School? So contact the principal.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be owned by the Lions Club, but it was sold.
It's a fantastic place, and it's got a nice cover and everything.
Picnic tables inside it.
Yeah, that's tremendous. Place. Oh my! And this is at the school.
Yes, tucked in the woods.
You can't see it. It's behind the baseball field, so you never see it from the road.
With Route 30, it's once you get all the way in, it's to the left.
Plus, there's a walking
there's a nice
trail.
little road down that goes to
probably 50 by 30.
It's been there since the 80s when I was in elementary
with
school.
Picnic
there.
tables.
That's fantastic. That's exactly what we need. Yeah. It's funny because I had Scotty give me a tour of the school a few years ago, but that was one thing he didn't see, so I had no idea that was there.
Yeah, just give him a call and you should be all set.
Yeah, and I would just say is,
plenty of parking.
The other thing too, just to register at this point as a member of the planning commission, but also as a fellow townsperson, I'm just like really moved by the stories about what's going on with the water and the flooding. It's just like, your stories, just like, it's just hard stuff. And the planning commission really ought to be, mindful of this as well. So I'm registering all this information as we, think ahead, with respect to the town and what's going to be good for the town, because this is hard.
It was incredible to see firsthand at 11 o'clock Thursday night. Wow. Out helping neighbors.
I slept through it.
I was wide awake. I heard our town road crew up on my hill saving a hill at 1 o'clock in the morning. It was incredible.
I helped a couple neighbors on West and Cross Street, and then went with Jay checking out roads, and it was very eye-opening and incredible to see how fast it happens.
Stand at the end of Eddy Road, look down into Smith Brook,
I will come up and take a
granite
look
stones
at
the size of boulders rolling down, and it felt like giants stepping. You could feel the vibration. That's what brought me outside originally.
Well, the force in my backyard was as severe as Irene, and it stacked up probably 4 foot high wood, everything that you can imagine that came from Dutton's, plus all their plants and everything.
Wow.
And I mean, heavy pieces of wood are lost down the stream from my property. So
I kind of hate to say it, but sometimes them are a blessing for the towns. Well, they are. Look how many bridges we've got redone over the years because of the floods, and the town and railroad do it. And
it's true.
You know, they build the roads back up, other than the private people getting washed away or something like that.
Yeah.
It really helps the towns out in one sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Going back
we
to
certainly
the
can't afford
the
it.
positive and the
not to
negative.
make any of this any light, let's go back to the agenda. Do you have anything to add
2 other things I want, are you done
to the ARPA? Ken?
Just to say that the planning commission's determined, and thank you for the idea of New Brook. That really helps us.
Great.
So 2 other things I just wanted to bring up. I had put forward an idea, suggestion to think about putting together a job description for a consultant. I'm feeling like maybe let's put this off for until our next meeting, because I think as information is coming in about different things, there may be other qualities or issues that we'll want to add to the job description.
Yeah.
August 16th?
Yes.
Perfect.
But I would just request if people could read it. If you want to get any suggestions or edits beforehand, before the next meeting, I'm happy to collate it all so that we can review it all together as an edited document.
That would be
So-
great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for heading that up.
Sure. And one other thing I just wanted to mention, if I could mention it here, which is I went to a DRB meeting where they had a presentation by a gentleman named Bob Rowland, who is considering purchasing land being sold by Fred Lawrence on Auger Hole Road. There's about 111 acres that Fred is selling, and this gentleman is interested in purchasing it, and he is interested in creating an eco-village and monastic training center, and he wanted to come to the DRB to talk about whether or not it would be acceptable to the town zoning. So it was an informational meeting only. Pete Van Loon made the point that this is basically all the gentleman has at this point, which I'm happy to share with folks, which is that it's basically too preliminary. He talks about, having perhaps up to 125 people at that location. They would need to talk about variances for the buildings because of the slope of the land and water. It goes on and on and on. But I have to say the DRB meeting was extremely friendly and extremely, I think, useful to the gentleman. So he has a good list of what the issues are that he needs to take into consideration. He will be working with the zoning administrator to work through the specific details of what fits within the zoning and what doesn't. And then he may be coming back with a proposal if he decides he wants to purchase the land.
Well, it's a good idea because he hasn't purchased it yet.
Yes, correct.
That's always a good idea.
Yes.
Thank you for
Big
that
plans.
report. Thank you for that report.
You are welcome.
Yes, Ken.
Thank you. Just to say too that the presentation by Bob, is his name, Bob Rowland?
Yes.
He was also very mindful of the town plan. So as the chair of the planning commission, I was pleased, and Lynn was as well. She was in attendance. So we were very pleased to see that person's attention to the town plan as part of his deliberations, and that of the DRB as well. So.
Lynn is keeping track of how many people have actually read the town plan.
Yes. Yeah. Lynn's quite concerned about that.
I read it. Yes. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that update.
Do you want to see this?
Do we want to talk about the office renovation plans? Are you prepared to discuss that this evening, Mr. Fitzpatrick, or shall we continue it again?
Let's continue it again.
All right. Is that okay with all of the board?
Here, here.
Sure.
Yes.
Great. And moving on, we have new business, and that is annual staff evaluations, which we had discussed that we're going to, it's only one evaluation, and we were going to do it closer to the budgeting season when we discuss the budget and raises. So if it's okay with everyone else, we can continue this to our first meeting in September.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Or would we like to? Oh.
First meeting in September will fall on
Labor Day weekend. So maybe
do
we should
make it the next day, the Tuesday again?
Budgeting season starts in October, correct?
Yay.
So Labor
Enjoy
Day
your
is
summer.
Monday,
Excited
September
tomorrow.
6th. Let's just do this now. Do we want to do our meeting Tuesday the 7th? Or do we want to do this? We could do the 2nd and 4th Monday. That would probably be too much.
I would propose doing the Tuesday.
7th and the 20th of September?
Yeah.
Do we need to have a motion on that, or can we just?
Yeah, I
change
think
our
we
meeting?
do.
No, we could just, that's September.
So our September meetings will be.
My birthday's on a Wednesday.
Mine.
So
Yes,
it'll
you may.
be
What
the
date is
7th.
yours?
My
Your
birthday-
birthday is
That's your
the seventh?
birthday?
The 1st. No, the 1st is my birthday, which is, so that's it.
That's
Yeah, so the
Wednesday.
7th.
So we'll do September 7th and September 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we continue?
I'm sorry, and the 20th is a Monday, right?
It is.
7th
Okay.
and 20th.
Okay.
And shall we do the annual staff evaluation discussion on the 20th, which then brings us right to budgeting season?
Sounds good.
Starting in October.
Can you put that on the 20th agenda, please? Thank you. Oh. And I believe we have meetings today and the 16th of August. And for some people, the 16th is a holiday because it's Bennington Battle Day, correct?
It's what?
Isn't it
Battle
Bennington
Day?
Battle Day on the 16th? I don't know if anyone celebrates that.
That's just Bennington.
Isn't it just Bennington?
It's a holiday for state employees. So.
Really?
Oh,
Is it really?
Yes.
You want to go away?
No, I'm just making sure it's okay with everybody. I'm fine with
It
it.
wasn't just Bennington, anyways. The battle took place
In
over
New
there.
York.
It's in New York, right?
Who's
That's
sick?
right.
So
And actually, if you ever drive up here, it's pretty interesting.
It is cool in there. I've driven up there.
What, the monument?
Where
The battlefield is.
Battlefield.
You have to go through North Bennington
headed for
and
Hoosick.
through over to Hoosick or North Hoosick, and you go past the battlefield, which is
Up on a
you
hill.
go through a curve and up, and it's on the right hand side. It goes up in
In Granville?
No.
Hoosick.
Hoosick Falls?
Well, 67.
Okay,
North
so we're
Hoosick.
good with all the
North Hoosick? New York?
Yes,
Oh, I'm from
Yes.
upstate New York.
it's the border
Oh.
next door to Bennington.
Just over
Okay.
Vermont from the house.
We'll take this.
Never heard.
We're going to start reading the
Before we get up to-
correspondence.
Correspondence,
With
folks.
a movie theater and all that.
Hello.
Mike, Shelley, we're gonna start
Okay.
correspondence. Anne's gonna help me read.
This is from RUCK-UP. The dear members of the Select Board, the staff and volunteers of RUCK-UP Inc. wish to thank you for allowing us to have a coin drop in your town on July 10th. It was a very successful coin drop. The monies raised there will be a great help in our work to keep RUCK-UP functioning, aiding those veterans who come to us for assistance. After serving in conflicts around the globe, veterans return with conflicts of their own that can be very difficult with which to deal. RUCK-UP has a qualified licensed counselor and caring volunteers ready to help veterans win their battles against PTSD, drug and alcohol abuse, homelessness, and a need for food and clothing. Receiving no federal or state funding, we rely on donations and fundraising efforts such as the recent coin drop we had in Newfane. RUCK-UP is more than a veterans hall or place for veterans to gather. RUCK-UP is a Veterans Outpost, a 501c3 organization run by veterans. The three pillars of our mission, advocacy, outreach, and counseling, in 2020 won over $1,716,000 in VA and SSDI claims for veterans assisted 71 veteran families, and our licensed counselor provided over 2,750 hours of counseling in individual and group sessions at no cost to the veteran and no limit to the number of sessions the veteran received. Thank you for allowing us to hold a coin drop in Newfane. Its success is critical to the operation of RUCK-UP. Signed, Anthony Page, who's the president, Pamela Spalding, the secretary, and George Legase, who is the vice president.
Great, thank you so much. This is from Brattleboro Area Hospice, dated July 12, 2021. Dear friends of hospice, your generosity makes a difference. Your investment in Brattleboro Area Hospice helps provide comfort and care to individuals and families facing death. The volunteer-based services we provide to greater Brattleboro community for living and dying well are possible due to your ongoing support and generosity. You enable us to, free of charge, work with families, friends, and neighbors who are struggling with complex challenges of illness and death. Your gift reflects the values that are the cornerstone of the BAH programs: respect, kindness, decency, and dignity. You join the staff, volunteers, and donors of BAH in helping to provide the best end-of-life experience to our clients. On behalf of those who have and will benefit from your support, we are deeply grateful. Sincerely, Ellen Smith, Development Director.
This is from the AIDS Project of Southern Vermont. It was addressed to Melissa as the treasurer. Thank you very much for sending the check in the amount of $250 to the AIDS Project of Southern Vermont. We are honored by Newfane's support of our work. In our work with people living with HIV, the project serves over 80 households in Windham, Bennington, and southern Windsor counties. To these families, the project offers case management services, advocacies, and referrals, and a nutritious food program. Our prevention programs serve people living with HIV and those at high risk of infection, offering HIV and Hep C testing, syringe services, and a one-on-one program providing clients with the skills necessary to be able to make healthy choices for their lives. As always, we are committed to providing HIV education and awareness in our community. Town support of these critical programs is greatly appreciated. Sincerely, Karen Peterson, Executive Director.
Thank you. This is to the town of Newfane. Dear Red Cross supporter, the American Red Cross is very grateful for your generous gift of $500 on July 14th to local chapter. On behalf of those we serve, thank you. The American Red Cross prevents and alleviates human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors like you. Your questions and feedback are very important to us. Please feel free to contact us at redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS. You make a difference. Thank you for standing with us. Sincerely, Gan McGovern, President and CEO of the American Red Cross.
This is from the Windham County Humane Society. Dear friends, on behalf of the staff and board of directors of Windham County Humane Society, thank you for the generous support from the town. WCHS is blessed with a dedicated, hardworking staff, and we are all very grateful for the support of our community. The appropriation will go directly to support shelter functions, including our pet care assistance and adoption programs, and helps cover the daily cost of food, heat, and veterinary care for the animals that come through our doors. WCHS is 100% community funded. Other than grants, we receive no funding from national organizations or state or federal government. That's why support from our local towns is so important to us. We believe that our relationships with animals enrich our lives and communities. Thank you again for helping us to provide loving care and to find loving homes for the animals of Windham County. Sincerely, Annie Guion, Executive Director.
Great, thank you so much.
All
And
right.
Katie is going to read the last one for us. I think you just need to read the front.
The front of the back. There's a letter.
Oh, you can read both if you'd like. I appreciate it. My voice is cracking too much.
Dear Town Clerks, I'm writing to let you know that a statewide COVID-19 memorial service is planned for Sunday, September 19th at 3 p.m. on the State House lawn in Montpelier. I am the lead organizer for the event, which is being planned by Vermont Interfaith Action. We want to publicize this event widely so that all can be included. Would you please help us get the word out in 2 ways? First, would you forward the following notice to your town select board? Second, Would you please post the attached posters where most people will see it? Thank you very much for your help. Blessings, CJ King, Jamaica, Vermont.
Great, thank you. And then one order of business that we forgot that is to the select board. Dear Newfane Select Board, I recently saw that the Development Review Board is seeking applicants to be alternates when regular DRB members cannot attend. I spoke with David Cotton, who suggested I email the select board to indicate my willingness to be one of those alternates. If still needed, I'd be happy to help out in this capacity. Sincerely, Erica Walch, Hobby Hill Road, Newfane. Is there a motion that would appoint Erica Walsh to be an alternate to the DRB?
I make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Erica. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Would you please send an appointment letter to Erica Walsh as an alternate to the DRB?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Can I
And
ask who seconded this?
it was
Mike.
Shelley and Mike. All right, I would like to thank everyone for being here, being a part of our select board meeting. It's great to have members of the public in attendance and folks from other committees and town roles. Yes, Henriette?
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I just wanna thank you guys for all your service, because, I feel like I was being Susie negative head about my road, because I'm all stressed out about it. But I really appreciate the time that you put in, and it's really great, and I think that being in this little room where I went to 7th and 8th grade probably made me feel more grateful.
It was my first and second grade classroom.
Oh.
These walls could only talk, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I sat out in the hall.
No, I really appreciate everybody coming, and stay safe out there and have a great evening. We're gonna head into our pay orders.